And welcome into Weekend at Bookies, brought to you by the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Glenn Clark, Griffin Bass, Carson Weekly hanging out today. Coming up a little bit later on, our buddy Brad Kronthal from Alloy Sports. We'll talk about the day's baseball slate with him. Andrew Stetka joins us in just a moment with his Stets and Figures for the week. It is a busy week in the Fanduel Sportsbook because they are giving away gear. They're giving away some swag as you get your bets in. Sign up for live rewards, and you can be registered to win some awesome gear from the Fanduel Sportsbook and Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Of course, UFC 276 on Saturday night. The place to watch for free and bet the fights where you could come out on top. You sit at home, you pay for the pay-per-view, you're going to lose money. You go to Live Casino and Hotel, you don't have to pay a thing. I mean, your drinks and your food at Sports and Social, but for watching the fights, and you can win money. It seems like a no-brainer to me. But you want to reserve your spot right now. Events at sportssocialmd.com. He loves the idea of two guys. He is Andrew Stetka, and he's back with us for his Stets and Figures here on Weekend at Bookies. What's going on, pal?
Yeah, some might say it's bussin'.
It's bussin'. That's right. This is a bussin' idea. I can tell you that I promise you this. You get that Asian chicken bowl at Sports and Social, that is bussin'. I know that as a fact. And I totally don't sound like an old man when I say that. I totally don't sound old at all. I was thinking that you should commit moving forward when we do Stets and Figures. One of your Stets and Figures should always be about two guys.
Well,
not this week necessarily, because I just sprung it on you right now. But I was thinking about that last night. That I think moving forward when we do the segment, there should be a way, whether it's two golfers, two NASCAR, whatever it is.
Well, that was of course the concept. I was giving you a couple of golfers.
No, you were talking about how you love two guys. I get it. Trust me, Andrew. Right. We all there is no judgment here, and I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court hasn't gotten rid of that yet. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
we're still not yet. But I think that we should roll with it, and I think that number two, maybe every week, should be your two guys. I love the idea of two guys. It's just a thought that I had.
If you look back, one of the two guys that I gave you for the US Open happened to be the big winner.
I understand that. I'm excited.
I like the concept of that one guy in that scenario.
We'll talk more. We'll talk more about it. I just think that should be something we should try to do moving forward. Can I get a commitment to that?
We're going to see how the board plays.
Oh, for F's sake, you can come up with two guys. There's 1,000 sports out there. You can't come up with two guys today that you think could get hits in baseball games or something like that. Come on, man. You could do this.
I'm not sure if you've looked at the sporting landscape over the next few weeks, but it is getting thin.
I understand that, but there's plenty of props available, my dude. There's plenty of props. All right, let's.
This is true.
Thank you for committing to nothing. Thank you for going. You know when I talk about committing to the bit. Thanks for committing to the bit, buddy.
I've committed to the idea of liking two guys, so I thought that would be enough for you.
I
but
do
you're
know
always
this.
wanting more out of me.
Oh, I do know that about you. I don't know what's happening over there, Griff. I don't know what's. All of a sudden, I'm screaming at myself. There's a lot going on today. All right, last time out, Stetka did. It was a mixed bag. As he points out, going back a ways, he did give you Matt Fitzpatrick at 27-1. That was one of his two guys that he liked the idea of. So that's good. He's a basketball guy. We know that. Nailed both the under and Al Horford. But as we know about Andrew Stetka, not a guy who knows much about baseball. Just not a baseball man whatsoever. Struggled in some of his baseball picks the last time out. But he was about 500. He was roughly 500 last time out. So we'll deal with that. What's up for Stets and Figures for this week?
What even is baseball? That's what I say.
Yeah, seriously. Well, we've been asking that question in Baltimore for some time.
Well, we're starting to get the idea.
We're hoping that we're figuring it out.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's start with baseball. Let's just get that out of the way right now because I do have a baseball pick for you today. The Braves playing the Phillies, final game of a 3-game series. Aaron Nola started against Atlanta about a month ago and was dominant. And there's a concept that I have that's kind of hard to do in back-to-back starts against the same team.
Do you have something to back that up, or are you just sort of guessing?
Well, it's the fact that ever since that start, Atlanta has gone on an absolute tear. They ripped off a 14-game win streak in that span, and the Braves have really turned things around. I'm not sure if you know this. I don't know a lot about baseball.
They don't lose much, yes. They don't. There's not a lot of losing in Atlanta. And yet they're still not in first place.
Yeah, they happened to win the World Series last year, too.
Now, what is that?
They're quite a good team.
That's
the one they play at the end of the – never mind.
Well, that seems neat.
I like the over 8.5 runs in this Braves-Phillies game today. That's the common theme. Like I said, the Braves have been really, really dominant. And Aaron Nola, obviously a very good pitcher. But, these Atlanta bats right now are just on a tear. Ian Anderson, on the other hand, an ERA at 4.6, not great, especially for a National League pitcher.
Okay.
You'd like to see that a little lower. So just the matchup there, I really like the over 8.5 in the Braves-Phillies game this afternoon.
How did Mark Appel do, by the way? I know that he pitched. What happened in his pitching outing last night, this first of his career? Does anybody? Griffin's trying to tell me, but he's afraid.
Yeah, it was a scoreless inning.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a neat story. Very, very happy for
That's all.
Mark Appel.
That's a report.
Dynamite tap-in. Thank you. They don't call him the best color analyst in baseball for nothing, people. All
He's
right.
had 5 saves this season in the minors. That's also.
I don't care.
I know.
All right. Now
By
you're
the
doing.
way, that's another reference. That's another reference you just made that they're probably. Not
There's
gonna
zero
get, so.
chance. They don't get any of my references.
Say it again.
I just did. I'm on a boat, and they couldn't get that. There's no chance they remember anything from Major League. That's not happening. All right. Moving on. Number 2, Stets and Figures.
Let's go back to golf. There's a guy who I know you're familiar with who has, speaking of being around the rim, he's been around the rim a lot this year, and that is William Patrick Zalatoris.
Oh, yeah. He's very good at finishing second.
He's very good at finishing second. In fact, he's done it twice in majors this year, and then the other major, in the Masters, he tied for 6th. So top 10 in all the majors this year thus far. He's played in 12 tournaments this year. He's been in the top 10 in 7 of those 12. That's pretty darn good.
I would say that's consistent.
Yes, it's quite consistent. He's actually second in strokes gained tee to green this year to a guy named Rory McIlroy, who is the prohibitive favorite in the Open Championship here in a few weeks. So my pick to win, and obviously bet him as well to top 10, top 5, bet him all over the place. But Will Zalatoris to win is 22-1. So I really like Will Zalatoris. I'm just going to keep hammering Will Zalatoris until he finally breaks through and wins one of these. It's going to happen.
I hear you. I mean, you called the last one, Fitzpatrick, 22-1. I get it. He's right in the mix for all of them at some point. Most of these guys that are in the mix end up winning one except for Ricky Fowler, right? Like, is there anybody else that's been in the mix frequently that never won one?
So the only other guy that's on the list, if you look at the betting odds, now Zalatoris is the 10th pick among players, on the board right now. The only other guy that's up in that realm who's 20-1, who has never won one before, is Cam Smith. He, of course, won the Players back in March.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
And Cam Smith's a very good golfer, don't get me wrong. But I like Zalatoris in the spot. You're getting slightly better odds than him. The other guys have all won majors before. You're talking McIlroy and Rahm up top, Scheffler, who's obviously been on a tear, Justin Thomas coming off the U.S. Open win. Jordan Spieth is always going to be in the mix of these things, or at least from a betting standpoint, be in the mix. Morikawa, the defending champion, is up there as well. Fitzpatrick coming off of the U.S. Open. And then Shane Lowry is up there as well as a betting favorite. He, of course, won the British Open a few years ago. So the Zalatoris is kind of in that next crop, and he's the guy that I like to break through.
So how many times? You know what? Never mind. You don't. What am I doing here? Let's just move forward. Lord knows I have no idea. They do the respectful thing, right? And they wait till Wimbledon is over to play this, so that we get the important stuff out of the way, right?
Yeah, well, Wimbledon serves as the appetizer for the real thing.
Yeah, sure. That's exactly. Everybody's saying that. Everybody's saying that's the way that it works. So it's the weekend after. So next weekend are the Wimbledon finals, and then it's the weekend after that for the.
Yes. This week is the Irish Open, and then next week is the Scottish Open, and then they have the Open Championship.
You act like I didn't know those things. But longtime fan of all of these events.
Well, what's going on this week, actually? The John Deere Classic, as everyone says, the 5th major is going on out in Illinois.
Right.
And it coincides with the Irish Open. And then next week, the Scottish Open is now a sanctioned event between what's called the DP World Tour. It used to be the European Tour and the PGA Tour. So a lot of players are going to be playing next week in the Scottish Open ahead of the major the following week.
Well, I got to be honest with you. All of that just sounds terrible. I'm going to leave then. I'm going to get out of town for all of this.
Well, you would just want to be ready to sit down and watch all the great European
great point.
golf.
I need to be able to completely focus all of my attention on that. Andrew
Yeah, I get
Stetka's with Stets and Figures here on Weekend at Bookies. And by the way, that was basically two guys, for the record. That's almost exactly what I'm asking for you to do with number 2 every week, is that you like the idea of two guys. You just threw out Will Zalatoris and sort of Cameron Smith. So you basically did it.
Well, no, I'm not on Cameron Smith this week, but he's another name that's up there on the board. If I had to give you another name, it would be Roy McIlroy, but he's a favorite, and at 8-1, I don't like those odds.
I get it, but I mean, it's still 8-1. It's still, like, my God, the one that you made before that was like -110. That's still way better odds. Jesus.
Fair.
All right, fine. Next, number 3.
I have not given you a soccer pick in a few weeks because most of the soccer I pay attention to is
not
European
happening.
soccer.
Right.
But I am going to give you an MLS pick for today.
Look at you.
New York Red Bulls, Atlanta United. They meet today. Both teams are struggling, but most of those struggles come defensively. Atlanta's had a lot of injuries. Red Bulls have had a lot of problems with form, but these are two teams that can really still score. So I'm going to give you both teams to score in this match at -140. Red Bulls have the 4th highest XG, which is expected goals per 90 minutes in the MLS this year. And 7 of the last 8 fixtures in this matchup have cashed on this bet with both teams scoring. So I like Red Bulls and Atlanta United tonight, both teams to score at -140.
Again, he's giving, by the way, apparently it's dropped to -150. He won't give us an 8-1, but he'll give us a -150. And you act like I don't know what XG is. How is you think I talk to the girls at the bars every night? I walk in and I'm like, hey, let's talk about the XG of the New York Red Bulls. And they're like, oh, let's. That's the way that it goes for me most nights. Number 4, Stets and Figures.
So you're not going to like this one. I'm going to preface it with that. And this is a real, just kind of it's not a long shot in the sense that the odds are great, but it's a long shot in the sense that I just like this concept and this idea. I'm just prefacing it with that because you're going to push back, okay?
Okay.
The Washington Commanders.
What are you doing? What's wrong with you?
The Washington
I would
Commanders.
just end the sentence there.
I know. The Washington Commanders are +165 to make the playoffs in the NFL season coming up.
I don't know why the odds are that good.
Well, they're +500 to win the division if you really want to take a step. I don't like the NFC East.
Well, I mean, by the way, those odds make no sense to me. Like they shouldn't be that much better to make the playoffs than they are to win the division. The only way they're getting into the playoffs is if they win the division.
Well, that's not entirely true.
Come
because
on.
They were only 2 games. Well, listen, they were only 2 games out. You're talking about an extra playoff spot now. They were 2 games back of the Eagles last year, who were the wild card team. I am not a believer in Jalen Hurts. I'm not really a big believer in the Dallas Cowboys, even though I think they have more talent. And all it takes is an injury from, to a quarterback or to a key player on one of those teams. And this is a team that won 7 games last year and didn't really have a quarterback to speak of. They had 4 different quarterbacks, none of whom were very good. And I'm not saying Carson Wentz is a world beater, but he's at least going to provide them with some consistency. You've got Gibson in the backfield. You've got Terry McLaurin signed to a new deal, a good defense. And again, that division is very, very up in the air. So the fact that they were only 2 games out of ostensibly a playoff spot last year, I do like those odds for them to make the playoffs at +165.
I'm telling you right now, if you're making that bet, you bet them to win the division.
Sure, and that's why I threw that number out there.
It's nonsensical to me the way those odds are set up, because you can keep telling me they were 2 games back. They were 2 games back of maybe the worst playoff team of all time. They're making the playoffs if they win the division. Now, the only argument that you can make is that, hey, it's not like the conference. All of the quarterbacks are in the AFC now, right? So
Correct.
Somebody's got to make it. I hear you, but still, if I'm making that bet, I'm just going for it, and I'm picking them to win the division. But
well, and if you looked back about 2 months ago, especially before the draft, they were only about +350, 400 to win the division. Those odds have gone a little higher for you. So
I don't understand why why would that move? Why would
That's what I'm saying. That's what I like them. I like the +500 just as a flyer for them to win that division.
Based on the playoff odds, I like the division odds much better Like if
I do as well.
I'm not making either one of those bets because I am not putting American dollars on the Washington Commanders. But if I had to make one, I'd make the division bet. Like if you said I'm going to put
the concept, of course, is there's playoff turnover every year. You've got the extra playoff
somebody's going to get hurt. And the whole
somebody's going to get hurt.
Right.
It's not a good division. It's not a good conference, as you said. All the and they're going to have a little bit more consistency in the quarterback spot, and the defense is still formidable. It's still a defense. There's still a defense there that can do some damage as well. It's of all the NFL futures and looking at the only other one that I've looked at is the ones that stand out is Kansas City, and I just cannot bet against. It would be going against Kansas City, and I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So I would almost rather bet with Carson Wentz, which I know sounds
you could
like
talk
a weird
me into
concept,
you could talk me into trying to doubt the Chiefs a little bit with Tyreek Hill gone. You could talk me into some form of everybody thinks that Patrick Mahomes can just make everybody better, but that's not the way that things work. Like it's just not the case. But they do still have Travis Kelce, so you could talk me into an amount of hating on the Chiefs, but only an amount.
And there's still time for these things, but this is one that I've kind of had in my back pocket for a few months, just thinking about where can we find new playoff teams. And I really think the NFC East has historically been one of those divisions that churns out a new team almost every 3-4 years. Just an out of nowhere team that pops in.
Yeah, but I think I got a better answer than Washington. I think it's New York, and you don't want to like Daniel Jones stinks, so we don't want to say that. But like they've got talent now. Like that's the kind of thing that happens when you get the draft picks that you get. That's if you wanted to pull a magic one out of a hat, New York would be the one for me.
Yeah, I like Washington more than I like New York.
Okay, I don't. Oh boy, I like their defensive line. That's about all I like.
And again, this is way more a bet against Dallas and Philly than anything.
I kind of agree with that, but it's all right. Anyway, at Stetka on Twitter is how you follow him. It might be 4 weeks before we do this again. I got to figure out what our schedule is going to be when we get back from break. But I appreciate you, pal. Let's think about some more two guys that we can love on. All right.
All right, just let me know.
Thanks, buddy. See you. Andrew Stetka joining us for Stets and Figures here on Weekend at Bookies. When we come back in, Brad Kronthal, Alloy Sports, will join us next. We'll go over today's Major League Baseball slate. No Orioles, but a lot of other games in action. We'll talk to him about those. That's next. It's Weekend at Bookies. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new Fanduel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion!
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our very first Salute to Coaches issue. On the cover, we recognize Ravens coach John Harbaugh ahead of his 15th season. Also inside, find tributes to Navy football coach Ken Niumatalolo, UMBC soccer coach Pete Caringi, Maryland soccer coach Sasho Sorovsky, and field hockey coach Missy Maharg, Mount St. Joe basketball coach Pat Clatchy, and Poly basketball coach Kendall Peace. We also honor recently retired Johns Hopkins lacrosse coach Janine Tucker and Calvert Hall baseball coach Lou Eckerl, the athletes whose lives these coaches have impacted, offering insights on what makes them special and why they've stood the test of time. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
To follow the show on Instagram, it's just Glenn Clark Radio. And to follow the show on OnlyFans, wait, I don't think you're supposed to know about that one. Any hoodle. Take it away, boys.
It is Weekend at Bookies, brought to you by the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Let's zero in a little bit more on the baseball slate for the day. Joining us now from Alloy Sports, here's our buddy Brad Kronthal. He's with us here on Weekend at Bookies. Brad, what's going on, bud?
Glenn, another beautiful day in Baltimore. How are you doing?
Everything is good, man. I mean, it would have been nicer if the Orioles would have, not lost the last two games, but other than that, everything is good. What's going on in the world of Alloy Sports?
Everything's great, Glenn. Really building out our mobile app for the summer for the NFL, working on some internal stuff, but really getting that NFL push ready. And it's coming up really quick, so we're really excited for training camp and then preseason and then the season. I'll be here before you know it.
I'm assuming the concept is going to be the same for the NFL as it was for the NBA, which is that you can use, your own methods. You can come up with your own buckets for how it is that what you think you should prioritize for betting NFL games.
Absolutely. So we're making it a little bit cleaner, improving design, but at the end of the day, it's building your betting strategies based off stats that you think are most important. We tell you how it's fit in games in the past and the best games that to bet on that certain week or coming weeks for you to win and be profitable.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I need all the help that I can get, as you know, Brad. I need as much help as I can possibly get. In the meantime, let's just sort of take a look at the baseball slate today. Again, it's a bummer because there's no Orioles game, and we like talking about that. But what catches your eye looking at what's going on from a betting perspective?
Yeah, I'm excited to come on because I was listening to Andrew, and it seems like in weeks past that we have contradicted ourselves a lot.
And by the way, and we know as a fact that yours worked out a little bit better the last time around.
They did the last time, and that's all the ones I can remember, so that's all that's important.
That's all that matters. The ones that were winners are the only ones that matters. We all just conveniently forget about all the losers we had in there.
100%. So I actually agreed with Andrew today, and looking at the slate for today's games, it was hard to place some bets, and so I really had to dive in a little deeper. So I'm looking at the Braves and Phillies, not taking the over-under. I would have leaned the way Andrew was with the over. But I'm looking at Ian Anderson, and I'm going over 4.5 strikeouts. Yes, he's been really underwhelming this season with a 4.60 ERA, but in his last 7 starts, he's only gone under that 4.5 line once. Braves obviously really hot in June. Anderson has a really high whiff percentage this year, which is consistent with his last 3 years in the 67th percentile there. It's just his strikeout rate has dropped dramatically. So when he's getting to 2 strikes, he's just not finishing batters. But then again, he is getting over that 4.5 line pretty consistently lately. And the Phillies, their last 2 games against the Braves, 10 strikeouts 2 nights ago when Charlie Morton started, and then 9 strikeouts last night. So, if Ian Anderson can just avoid getting rocked, I think he can hit that number.
All right, that's a bold pick. That's a bold pick. I like it. I like everything about it. What else do you see?
So 2 other games, one being Yankees-Astros from a rooting interest. I mean, this is just fantastic baseball. The series they just had in New York last week was just extremely entertaining.
Hey, was there an update on – I know there was a scary moment yesterday with Yordan Alvarez. Do we know anything more about that?
I believe that him and Pena are doubtful for tonight.
Okay.
That's the last thing I saw. I mean, if you're Houston, what's the rush to get him back in the lineup? You're running away with your division. There's no need to push them back in there. So that's the last update I saw. And with that in mind, that kind of leads to my pick of I like the Yankees on the run line, minus 1.5 at plus 128. Luis Severino, versus Garcia tonight. Yankees are the freaking Yankees this year. They're winning, and they're winning a lot.
Yeah, they are.
Here's an interesting figure. They're 9-2 ATS in the Central or Mountain Time Zone in their last 11 games.
Well, that's interesting. That's quite interesting how that works out. Boy, I hate that you're right about it, but Jesus, you're definitely right about it. Although, they also did just go 16 innings without getting a hit against the Astros over the course of last weekend. So go figure that, right? Like, go explain how these things come up. Where a team that's this loaded, has this many bats, can just go through, such an insane slump as they did. But yeah, on paper, I tend to agree. I think that's pretty safe, with the number being 1.5 to take the Yankees tonight. And then what's the other one that jumps out at you?
So the last game that I liked, and it's Rays at Blue Jays. So Tampa Bay has not declared their starter. I mean, this is nothing new. They've done this for years when they go with an opener, so this shouldn't surprise, Tampa Bay the way they play. They're facing Yusei Kikuchi. Kikuchi has been terrible. His last win was May 16th. Since then, his ERA has skyrocketed to 7.30.
And making matters worse, everyone still giggles when they announce his name coming out to the mound. I mean, it's real rough for him. It's a tough scene, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope one day to be mature enough to not giggle when I hear the name Kikuchi, but I am not. I am not mature or old enough yet to be able to not do that, unfortunately.
Maybe he's affected by that on the mound.
Might be.
Slight giggles. So I like Tampa Bay. I really would like them on the first 5 from Fanduel. Last I checked, that hasn't come out yet, and books will wait on that till a starter is announced.
Yeah.
But Tampa Bay hits lefties relatively well, better than they do righties. But Kikuchi's just been terrible. So I like Tampa Bay, at least in the first 5 for sure, but I'll take them on the money line. And
what would you want? What would you want? When you say, explain that to people that don't understand about first 5 betting. Explain what it is that you're looking for when that line comes out.
Absolutely. So first 5 is really betting on the first 5 innings. That's what it means. And that's really tallying and following a starting pitcher, just because bullpens can be so erratic, and you're betting on that starter that you like. Most starters, if you're having a good night, you should go 5 innings at a minimum. So it's really riding that starting pitcher and picking a winner based on that information there. So
in
that's why I
general,
like Tampa
in general, what you're
first
saying
5.
is you like the idea of betting against Kikuchi.
Exactly. Once it gets into a bullpen game, who knows what can happen. I think Tampa Bay will score more runs than Toronto in the first 5 innings off Kikuchi. And then I don't want to rely on the Rays, bullpen for the last 4 innings to see what happens for the rest of the game.
Makes all the sense in the world. All right. Anything else that's on your radar, Brad?
Yeah, Glenn, I really love playing the futures market.
Okay.
And I usually get into it probably a month from now once the deadline gets a little closer. Teams start to know when they're buyers or sellers. But one really interesting market right now is the AL MVP futures odds. So obviously, Aaron Judge is in the lead. He's
running away with it at the moment.
Absolutely, and he should. I mean, if the season ended today, there's no one else who could possibly be the MVP. Granted, there are a ton of great players in the American League. With that said, Mike Trout's at plus 800. Yordan Alvarez is at plus 1,500. Jose Ramirez is at plus 2,500. And if you like Vlad Jr. with a big second half, he's at plus 4,000. I mean, all Aaron Judge, we know his history. All it takes is one Bryce Harper hit to the hand, and he's out for a couple months, and everything changes. So, I mean, this market, you can throw it on a few guys right now and come out profitable if it's not Aaron Judge. I mean, Mike Trout's going crazy. Yordan Alvarez, sir, if there's no Aaron Judge, I think Yordan should be the MVP right now.
Okay. You just like the value. You like the value there with some of those guys.
Absolutely. So basically, if you bet $100, I could come away with $1,500 if I put money on Yordan today and he wins the MVP. So I usually wait a month or so, but there is a lot of value in that futures market for the American League MVP right now.
Of course, the issue being that, Aaron Judge is on pace to hit 175 home runs this season. And if he does that, I'm going to guess he wins MVP. Just guessing that if he gets to 175, he'll squeak it out.
I think if Aaron Judge stays healthy, he wins.
Yeah.
But
I get
Judge,
it. I get it.
A risk.
Right.
So
It's a risk, and
there's other options out there, and they're quite profitable if you want to make a play.
Brad, remind everybody about Alloy and what the next couple of months look like for you guys.
Yeah, so Alloy Sports, we're the sports betting research platform that lets you build and test your own sports betting strategies. You put in stats you think are most important to winning. We tell you how it's worked in the past, the win percentages, the ROI, and then we tell you the upcoming games to bet on that fit your criteria. We're working on the NFL. We had an NBA beta that was really successful, and we've been working out on refining our product and building out our mobile app, as I mentioned earlier. So it's going to be easier to access for all the sports bettors out there and really be the one-stop shop for your pre-bet solution. So you know before you place a bet how much confidence you can have in that bet, and it's all based off your intuition and data.
You can find out more at alloysports.com, and you can follow them on Twitter at Alloy Sports. And Brad, remind me where you are on Twitter?
I'm at B_Kronthal. And if you can spell it right, then that's
Kronthal. Give him a follow there. Although when you search for him in my phone, you don't find that. It's a long story that I'll explain some other time. Brad Kronthal, always appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you in a few weeks, all right?
Thanks, Glenn. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, pal. You too. Brad Kronthal, Alloy Sports, joining us here on Weekend at Bookies, taking a look at today's MLB slate. So, I put Griffin in charge of a new segment for Weekend at Bookies. We had, in the past, Paul's preposterous prop, where he would go in and just find something he'd make like a snooker bet or just some sort of sport that he knows nothing about whatsoever, but he would throw it out there anyway. I like the idea of a parlay. So Griffin is going to attempt to put together a parlay. And because we like alliteration around here, we're going to call it Griffin's gratuitous grouping. Because, again, alliteration. It's my favorite type of literation. Alliteration. We don't need no literation. We need alliteration. So, Griffin, where are you taking us this week with your gratuitous grouping?
All right, first off, we are going to head north of the border because I know that you know this sport is back.
Yes.
Started earlier this month, the Canadian Football League.
Hell yeah. Oh, I'm a Stampeders guy forever.
All right, well, Stampeders
except for when Baltimore had a team. Then I was a Stallions man.
There's one game tonight is between the Ottawa Red Blacks and the BC Lions.
Okay.
Right, is this tomorrow night? I can't remember. Hold on. Let me double check.
It's your gratuitous grouping.
This is tonight. All
right.
Ottawa Red Blacks versus the BC Lions. Lions are 2-0, so they're coming in as a road favorite against the Red Blacks.
Ooh.
And the BC Lions just beat up on two teams, Toronto and I didn't even put the name of the other one. I think it was Edmonton Elks or something.
Yes, used to be the Eskimos, but I think that you're not allowed to say that anymore.
Yeah, and you just said it.
Well, I'm not in Canada, so I think actually I am allowed to say it. I think in Canada you're not allowed to say it anymore.
Gotcha.
I don't understand that, but I'm gonna let I guarantee I'm wrong. I'm the idiot. I guarantee that.
And so Ottawa, they're 0-2. So this is kind of like why they're coming in as a home dog. But that's because they played the Winnipeg Bombers twice. Winnipeg, they're the reigning champs.
So you played back-to-back games against the same team?
Yeah, I'm not sure what their scheduling
seems like an odd scheduling quirk.
Yeah, but they're 0-2, so they're coming in at plus 114 at home against the BC Lions. Lions haven't played meaningful football yet. They've been up big against two bad teams. Red Blacks have been playing really close.
Who are you to determine what's meaningful football?
I mean,
this is the CFL, baby. Every game matters.
That is true. I mean, it's a shorter season, so it does.
It's the oldest trophy in all of sports.
I'm smelling money here. The home dogs.
So
you're the Red Blacks plus 114
on the money line.
Yes, on the money line.
Okay. All right.
Don't even need the 2.5 points.
I think you might regret that, but all right, we'll go with it. All right, we'll go with it.
See.
So what do you come? So all right, hang on a second. Let's get this through. You are putting that first in your prop.
I am, yes.
All right, where are you going next?
Next, we are going to the UFC on Saturday. We've
Okay.
been talking about Izzy and Israel Adesanya and Cannonier. That's what we've been talking about this week with everybody. I'm looking at the co-main event, which is also going to be a big fight. Max Holloway and Alex Volkanovski.
It's their third fight.
This is the trilogy, yeah.
Yes.
And so Holloway, I don't know if anyone watched it, but Holloway won the second fight.
Mm-hmm.
They gave it to Volkanovski on a split decision. If anyone watched that fight, if you look at the stats afterwards, on ESPN. They had Volkanovski. He's all covered in red because Holloway had the pressure on him. But they gave it to Volkanovski because, I don't know, judging in UFC recently has been very bad.
I didn't know you were this passionate about this topic. I had no idea. This is news to me.
I'm a big UFC guy.
You're very passionate about judging in UFC.
But Holloway, he lost back-to-back fights against Volkanovski. The first fight he did lose. Second fight, which was almost 2 years ago exactly.
Yeah.
To Volkanovski, he lost on a split decision, which he should have won. And so he went back. So he fought Calvin Kattar. He destroyed Calvin Kattar, set records with most strikes in a fight. Destroyed Calvin. Calvin Kattar didn't fight for a year. That's how hurt he was.
Oh, my God.
Then he fought Yair Rodriguez in November. Yair Rodriguez hasn't fought yet. He actually does have a fight scheduled, but he hasn't fought since November because again, he fought Holloway.
He's ending these fools.
He is. Yeah. Holloway is one of the best strikers in the world, maybe in all of featherweight history.
So you believe this is his moment?
This is his moment for sure. He's not losing 3 times in a row to Alex Volkanovski. Even though I don't think he did lose, even if he does somehow lose this because he won the second fight. But he's coming in as a dog, so a lot of money there. It's plus 164 right now, and I really like that.
Okay, so you got 2 legs and a parlay. Is there a third coming, or
there's a third coming? I'm going tennis. So
okay,
I would love to see your opinion if you like it.
All right,
tomorrow morning.
Yes,
John Isner. Versus
not a great start.
Versus Yannick Sinner.
My opinion is. Learn how to pronounce these names.
I know. Yannick Sinner.
Yes,
right? That's
yes.
right.
Yannick Sinner is
going
correct.
with the young kid against Sinner.
Well,
the young
what?
kid against
I was like,
Isner.
Isner. How do you pronounce I-S? There you go.
Isner.
You got
John
it, sport.
Isner, the 37-year-old, he's losing to the 20-year-old. And it's minus 180, I think, for Sinner.
Oh, I'm surprised it's only minus 180.
I know, I'm surprised too.
I mean,
he's a good kid. He's
a hell of a player. I really like him. It's
young
actually down to minus 182, so it does move
go.
slightly. So these are your 3 legs?
These are my 3 legs.
So
I see plus 775 right now.
I've got 775 as well. Yeah. So how much are we going to play on this?
Let's put, whatever your unit is, whatever you're comfortable with.
I like putting $20 bets in. That's what I like to do.
You should put $20
if I put $20 on this gratuitous grouping.
I probably make less money than you, Glenn, so I was probably going to put like $10 on it.
Okay, so $10 bet.
And then probably bet each of them straight, too, just make sure.
A $10 bet on Griffin's gratuitous grouping would win you $77.54. So,
and if you have more, if your unit's bigger than that,
get down to the Fanduel Sportsbook, put your bet in on Griffin's gratuitous grouping. Again, Yannick Sinner on the money line against John Isner. I'm still furious that John Isner beat Andy Murray. I don't want to talk about it. It was very depressing.
Sinner will make things right.
Max Holloway against Volkanovski and the Ottawa Red Blacks on the money line. This is going to be the one.
It is.
I got a bad feeling about that one.
Well, you don't think the Red Blacks will win?
Oh, no.
That game is tonight. We'll find out. We'll find out early.
All right, so put all those 3 together, put a $10 parlay. By the way, if you hit the first one, my God, if you hit on the first one, that's $77.54. You're in charge of monitoring it. Send the tweet out, the whole thing, because I will forget about it within 5 minutes. I've got lacrosse games to call. That's the way my life is going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Well done. That's exactly what I wanted in a gratuitous grouping. All right. Again, reminder, if you want to watch that Holloway-Volkanovski fight, the place to do it is the Fanduel Sportsbook Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. You can watch the fights for free. You don't have to pay a cover. You don't have to order the fight at home. Watch the fight, all the fights, for free. Bet on the fights. Come out on top. The 61 self-service kiosk. By the way, no longer there being any furniture at all in this office. My voice is bouncing unlike it's ever bounced before. I can hear it bouncing back to me in this now hollowed-out office. You can reserve your spot, reserve your table, reserve your set of reclining chairs right now. Email events@sportssocialmd.com. Thanks to Brad Kronthal. Thanks to Andrew Stetka. Thanks to Carson Weekly. Good job, bud. Thanks to Griffin. If you weren't listening to my show, we're going to be off for a couple of weeks, so there will not be a weekend at Bookies coming up in 2 Thursdays, as I will be on a boat, and I would sing the song again, but the boys don't know what it is, so I'm going to pass on that. So there will be no weekend at Bookies on the 14th. It might just be that we skip ahead to the 28th and keep it on the same, or we might move weeks and make it the 21st. We're working on a strategy for that, but weekend at Bookies will be back after this sort of brief summer break that we're taking as we make our move. So we will see you then. Get down to the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. May the odds be ever in your favor.